Well, g'day curd nerds. G'day curd nerds. Well, 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 g'day curd nerds, and welcome back to Ask the Cheeseman. And this is where you can ask all of your home cheese making questions. Goodness me, straight off the bat, we've got a super chat. Who's this then? Ruth. How are you, Ruth? Oh, my phone's on. Oh, it's chaos. Hopefully the sound's working. Everything's going. I'll just turn that off. Oh, fantastic. Okay. So, let's answer Ruth's question first off the bat, and then I'll get into intros and all that good stuff. Okay, Ruth says, hello, Gavin and Kim and World Curd Nerds. My little monster's about 3 months old, is moist but cracking. Wrapped in ripening paper. Is that the right thing to do? Why is this happening? Ooh, good question. So, the Munster, I think that's what you're talking about, Ruth. Yeah, look, it depends on how moist the curds were when you made them. That's the main thing. And if you've been washing them to get the rind, the bloomy rind happening, then that's a good thing. Wrapping them in paper is the right thing to do, in ripening paper. And I've got the producer here. What's going on, hon?
2 echoes.
You got echoes? Oh, no, it's all under control. Yeah, so the ripening paper is the right thing to do, and if they've already got their red smear all over them, then it's all fine. So I think they'll taste fine. Just make sure you check them before they fully ripe, just to make sure that they're not going to go overripe. So all under control. Okay, let's get back to the start of the show. So patrons this week, Randy Walls. Thank you, Randy, for your patronage, and thanks to all the patrons and YouTube members that we have with us today. Absolutely, I treasure your support. I really do. Okay, so hello to Olivia, Vern, Lystog, Midnight Murder, John, Bruce, obviously Ruth, Alice, Larry, Deep South Texas, Jordan, Sana, Tao Kinth, I think, Kevin, g'day Kevin, and obviously Kim is here, which is fantastic. Now, we may be short on viewers today because silly me didn't schedule the live stream using the YouTube scheduler thing, so it didn't appear on the channel, any of that sort of stuff, so that's a bit of a worry. But we've got 26 lovely people here now, including myself and Kim, and that's enough, and we'll get the show going. So the very first question is from Midnight Murder. How long does the live stream last? Usually about an hour, unless there are technical difficulties, which sometimes happen. But yeah, unless there are technical difficulties. John says it's too damn hot, 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 38 Celsius, which is hot. Even I can't handle that sort of temperature at the moment. Certainly a little bit warmer here this morning than it was last week, and I don't have to wear my lovely hat. Okay, where are we? Alice says, can you tell us of any master classes you've taken? If so, can you talk about your best takeaway from them? Alice, I am a self-taught, well, not self-taught, I did go on a couple of classes. I wouldn't say they're master classes or anything flash like that. I'm not a professional cheesemaker and don't pretend to be. I'm simply a home cheesemaker that likes to share how to make cheese at home. Now, having got that out of the way, I did go on 2 classes back in 2009, a long time ago. 10 years now. Gee, I've been making cheese for 10 years. That's incredible. So in February 2009 was the first class I ever went on, and that was how to make normal cheese. Can't even remember the name of the course. And it was by two lovely old ladies, and and they taught us how to make various cheeses, but we only made one. So I made feta, which is that popular Greek cheese. However, it was with cow's milk, so it wasn't really feta anyway. But it kind of did taste like it, and we got to understand the basics of cheese making, and that's really what we were there for. And then I went on a second class, which happened about 6 months later, and learnt how to make blue cheese. So I made was it a Stilton? Could have been. Okay, it was a nondescript sort of blue cheese, and that seemed to work all right as well. So that turned out okay. So they're the two classes. Now the takeaways were listen to everything that the teachers obviously tell you, and ask lots of questions if you don't understand. I certainly did ask lots and lots of questions because I was, after the first class, the second class, I had so many questions I didn't know what to do. So I actually took in a little notebook and had all my questions written down. Very similar to what you Curd Nerds do for the Ask the Cheeseman. This thing wasn't around back in my day, 10 years ago. And all I could do was ask the instructors, and that's what I did. In fact, there were hardly any cheese making books. In fact, the only one around at the time that I bought straight away back in 2009 was Ricky Carroll's Home Cheese Making. So I bought that and just read it from cover to cover and just absorbed it, and then found another one by Tim Smith, which was Artisan Cheese Making at Home, which is unavailable anymore, and went through and started making a few of the cheeses. Now, it wasn't until 2010, maybe 2011, that I actually put up my first. I was confident enough to put up my first video. Production quality wasn't very good, but the basics were there, and from there, I've learned how to make cheese. Every second weekend, every weekend, and it's by doing it over and over and correcting your mistakes as you go along is probably the best masterclass in the world. Plus reading lots and lots of books. I've got swags and swags of books, and I digest them and look at stuff on the internet and just learn and learn and learn as much as you can. Okay, so Alice, thank you very much for your question. Kim told me to shut the door. Oh, that's what she was here. She can hear two of us. Olivia says, hello, Gavin. Love all your videos. Thank you, Olivia. Appreciate it. Larry, g'day, mate. Jordan, hello, cheese family. Yeah, kind of is like a cheese family, isn't it, Jordan? Alrighty. Where I'm up to. Livestock says, I made your spicy American-style cheese, added smoky paprika powder, and it's to die for in a burger. No, I actually, during the process, I actually thought, I've got some smoky paprika somewhere. Go and find it and put it in there. But as soon as I got to the cupboard to find it, we were all out. So I actually rectified that and bought some more this week. But smoky paprika in cheese, yeah, especially in that spicy American style, would be very, very nice. Well done, Livestock. Suna says, hey, long-time lurker, first-time live streamer, very cool. Welcome on board, Suna. It's great to have you here. Tao Kent says, hello, I never managed to catch one of these live. Glad to be here at the right time. I'm glad I'm here too. I only woke up at 45 minutes before the show, so yeah, go figure. Okay. Kevin says, I made American cheese on the weekend and it came out perfectly. To all the Curd Nerds, it really does work. Indeed it does, Kevin. Rue says, Deep South Texas, Larry is a rock star. I agree with Kim. Made American cheese out of my miserably failed Shropshire Blue. Thank you, Larry and Gavin. Yes, thank you, Larry, for making me see the light and finding a way to repurpose the bits of cheese that lurk in the fridge that you never get around to eating because is that quite right? It's not that the cheese is off or anything. Cheese tastes fine, but you just never get around to trying it again. And it's in the vacuum pack, and you've got it sitting there for years. So great way to repurpose your cheese. If you've got a cheese that was undersalted at the time, you can add a little bit more salt during the cheese the melty process or the melting process. So yeah, so it's cool. Patricia, glad to see you here too, mate. Appreciate you all the way from Halifax, in Canada. Um, Olivia, I have a question for Kim, who's lurking. What's your favourite cheese? Let's see if she actually replied to that. Kim, do you have a favourite cheese? Oh, don't know. She didn't say. Um, I don't know what Kim's favourite cheese is, because she eats all the cheeses I make. All right, cool. Mark Osborne, g'day, mate. How are you? Ruth says, read in a book that canned blue can be aged at 45 degrees Fahrenheit. What do you think about that? Let's find out what 45 degrees Fahrenheit is in Celsius. Convert 45.
It's minus
Not.
17.
Siri jumped the gun.
I don't know how to respond.
Convert 45 Fahrenheit to Celsius.
The answer is 7.2 degrees Celsius.
7.2 degrees Celsius. Ruth, you're absolutely right. You can age the bloomy white cheeses from about 7 degrees up to 13. The higher the temperature, the quicker the white mold development occurs. That's why usually the first 2 weeks are at the higher temperature. And then, because home cheese makers find it difficult to vary the temperature in your cheese cave, you wrap it, pop it straight into the kitchen fridge, and then you don't have any troubles. You're at the lower temperature. The mold growth slows right down. You can control the ripening a lot better. So that's probably the best way to go it for home cheese makers, Ruth. Bruce says, yeah, I was looking for it and glad to get the email that the live stream was starting. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Bruce. Yaniv says, how hard is it to smoke cheese? Depends how big your your cigarette papers are. No, just joking. How hard? Pretty easy, apparently. I've got the smoking gear. If it had stopped raining on a weekend, I'll actually get out there to my barbecue and smoke the cheese. I'm going to use the hood. It's a hooded barbecue. I'm going to put the cold smoker in there, grab a whole bunch of cheeses I've got maturing longer in the cheese cave, put them on racks and smoke them. So I'm hoping to do that this weekend. I keep promising, but it keeps raining. So what can I do? I can't stand out there in the rain. Ruth says, can I make burrata with sheep's milk? I thought it might be similar to buffalo in fat content. I'm just trying to think, are there any pasta filata cheeses that are made with sheep's milk? None that I can remember. Most are made, well, in Italy, most are made from buffalo's milk, and yes, they do have a high fat content. Sheep's milk is a little bit harder to get a curd set, so unless you can find a readily available supply and you can find it cheaply, Ruth, it might not be worth your trouble. Try burrata with cow's milk first. We know that works. You can get a stretchy curd and put the cream or the what do they put in the middle? They put cream or thickened cream, or sometimes they even put a ball of cream cheese in the middle. That's another way they do it. And then just make a flat pancake of pasta filata cheese, stretchy cheese, and then fold it up and tie it up in a little knot or twist it, whatever you do. And then you could be okay and try that with the cow's milk first, which you can get cheaper. Then try it with the sheep's milk. It's probably best to do that. Tito says, what's the best book about cheese for beginners? What's the best book? Sorry. Seeing if other people commented on that and they haven't. Look, I have a book. I can't say that it's the best book in the world. I like it. I wrote it. It's Keep Calm and Make Cheese. And if Kim can find the link to that, you can put it up there for Tito. But there are many, many cheese books. One of my favourites now is the 4th edition of Ricky Carroll's home cheese making book. Pretty good. It's available now in print. The old one's gone out of print. I did start with that, and it did explain most of the stuff fairly well. I actually thought I improved on that in my book, but Keep Calm and Make Cheese, but I'll leave that for you to determine, Tito. Patricia says, one cheese you posted a vid for recently, fake cam maybe, use cream. I know you were lucky and used pure cream, but mine will probably have additives. Do you think there will be problems if I use it? Here in Australia, to a lot of the thickened creams, they add gelatin, and gelatin has been known to react with the with rennet and stop it from coagulating properly. So if it has gelatin in it, probably not. You may have some issues, Patricia. Um, we're very lucky. There's one brand that does pure cream that I can get my hands on, plus local dairy producers like, well, I keep harping on about them, but they supply me with milk, um, and that's Inglenook Dairy. They produce a cream that's got nothing in it; it's just cream. But yeah, you're going to have to hunt around. It may be difficult in Canada, so give it your best shot. The one with the less additives and no gelatin would be perfect if you could. Kevin says, do you have Cheese Whiz in Australia? If it's not, it's American cheese in a bottle. Also, if you added more water, will it make it more liquidy? Kevin, good question. No, I have never seen Cheese Whiz in a can here in Australia. I have looked for it. Closest, do we have? No, we don't have Cheese Whiz. If you add more water, so I think I use half a cup when I make mine. If you added more water, yes, it becomes more liquidy and becomes more of a cheese sauce, which you can use on, spicy nachos and all that sort of stuff. So that'll work perfectly. You just increase the water content to get it to the liquidiness, the viscosity that you want it to be. Hope that answers your question, Kevin. Ruth says, we smoked Fontina and it's wonderful. Not hard with a cold smoker bite. My husband did most of it. It's delicious. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to doing a video on smoked cheese and all of the exciting things that happen with it. But what can you do? Marianne says, I was wondering if and how you could use a fresh horseradish in a cheddar. Well, I haven't used fresh horseradish per se. However, it's very strong stuff. I have tasted it before, and it is very, very hot. I actually grew some once, but when would you add it? Have a look at the farmhouse or the cheddar with jalapenos. I think it's jalapeno cheddar. I think I called it. Look at that and the same steps that I add in the fresh jalapeno, add in your fresh horseradish. You wouldn't be able to mature it too long. The horseradish may affect the enzymes that ripen the cheese, so probably about 3 months you would ripen it for. But give it a go, Marianne. Experiment. That's what cheese making's all about. It's great fun, and you couldn't do better than adding something fresh like that to your cheese, especially if you've grown it yourself. Even better still. Okay, Sarah is speaking in either Spanish or Portuguese, which I can't understand. Sorry, Sarah, I'm not translating. Yaniv said, well, like I smoke meats all day long, I'm just worried about stuffing a pound of cheddar in the smoker and having it melt. Yeah, as Ruth rightly said there, Yaniv, it's got to be a cold smoker. It can't be a hot smoker. So you have to either bring the smoke in from somewhere else, or you have to have let me just get mine. 2 seconds. So this, I picked it up from the hardware store. It uses sawdust to produce the smoke, so there's no heat involved, and it's just smouldering basically. And you keep it in an enclosed area, and then the cheese gets the carbon from the smoke, obviously, and all the flavours that go with it, and it penetrates the rind of the cheese, and away you go. Okay. Yeah, you can get a cold smoker attachment for a hot smoker, as Ruth said as well. That seems to work. Maybe cost a little bit more than that $40 thing that I got, but hopefully that works, fingers crossed. I have heard good results about it. But your food's got to be cooked, so with hot smoking, you can put in raw food into the smoker, and it cooks it as well. With a cold smoker, the food has to be Food has to already be cooked before you can smoke it. I think that's the theory anyway. Jennifer says, hi, Gavin. Have you ever made a having your way with whey or 101 ways with whey videos? A dedicated way out video would be quite interesting, I think, anyway. Love your work. Way to go, Jennifer. Enough puns in there or what? But yeah, great idea. Ways with whey. Fantastic idea. I love the ideas that the community gives me to make videos. I just don't have enough time to make them all. Anyway, we get there. Kim said, what did Kim say? I've just lost it. Kim says, referring to our discussion the other day about book 2 for cheese making, maybe you should ask the question recipes or other items too. Yeah, good question. I'm after some feedback, ladies and gentlemen, around book number 2, which is kind of stalled. I've called it Keep Calm and Make More Cheese, which is the working title at the moment. And it's just basically time constraints because the e-commerce store that Kim and I run, Little Green Workshops, has just gone crazy. I'm really struggling to find spare time to make. First priority is make all the video, process store orders. Of course, people pay for that sort of stuff. But to do the videos is my second priority. Then the Q&A ones are next. And then try and get more content up. But I really want to get this book out because it's got all the recipes. Well, not all. It's got about 56, maybe 60 recipes that weren't in the original book. And I'm just wondering, and the question to you is, I was going to put a whole bunch of stuff at the front like I did the last book, the normal sort of stuff, but with things that I didn't include in the original book. However, I really want to get the recipes out there. I'm wondering do I just do a book of recipes and a fairly large chapter on troubleshooting based on questions that people have asked me and I've answered? Or do I go the full-blown book, which will take me another year, easy? I'm hoping that people are just after the recipes, the written recipes. I know you can transcribe them from the video, but I think it's a lot better to have them, even for myself when I go back. I'm actually referring back to the draft copy of the book that I've got to get the recipes. So my question is to you, do you just want a second volume with recipes and a bit of troubleshooting or a fair bit of troubleshooting? Or do you want more chapters that expand the cheese making experience, which really you can get on video these days, and you guys and girls watch all that sort of stuff anyway. All right. And hopefully you're busily typing the questions right now, but I'll get to them in a minute. Okay, Ruth says, I'm about 20 minutes behind, by the way, on the questions. Ruth says, do you have Paracoat in the shop? Where does one buy that? No, we don't have any, Ruth. That's the PVA coating that has a mold inhibitor that you can paint onto the cheese before you wax the cheese. We don't have any. I've never used it, never found a need to use it because, our sanitization seems to work fine. And by heating the wax up to above 75 degrees Celsius, it kills all the molds anyway. And as soon as you dip the cheese into the hot wax, it should kill all the molds as well. And obviously, when you do the waxing the cheese, you make sure that your hands are nice and clean as well. I've seen people say, hey, we've got mold under the wax. And when they take the wax off, it's in the shape of a handprint. So, yeah, you've really got to make sure sanitization happens the entire length of the cheese making process. But yeah, you can get Paracoat in, I think, New England cheese making supplies it there in the US, Ruth, if you want to go and check them out. I don't mind referring to other cheese making stores if, I don't have it and don't use it, basically. Patricia says, recently my cheesecloth has been sticking to my firm pressed cheeses. I keep the cheesecloth warm and wet and even spray with vinegar to lower the pH, but no luck. Does cheesecloth expire or something? Not to my knowledge, Patricia, but I was going to suggest the vinegar thing, but you've already done that, and that's what I do when I make a parmesan or something like that, and um, it's fairly moist. There is another thing. I'm just trying to remember. I read a tip somewhere. Uh, it's something to do with the curds are usually too moist. That's why they stick to the cloth. Maybe stir your curds for the parmesan a little bit longer. I don't get it very often. I don't experience it when I make those hard cheeses. Once, probably maybe twice out of the entire probably 20 hard cheeses that I've made, I've experienced it. And on the second, when I turned the cheese over, I did spray it with vinegar. It never happened the next time. Um, it only happens when curd is very hot as well, I found. So not really a solution, but, I'm just sharing my experience with you. John says, using American liquid hickory smoke wiped onto the cheese and allowed them dry removes the smoker option. Indeed, John, that does work. I do have liquid smoke as well, and I've used that for the smoked gouda that I made. I did a smoked gouda, or smoke flavored gouda, I think I called it. That worked quite well, and it did have. I actually put some in the milk as well. Not only rubbed it on the outside, but put some in the milk. And there's a recipe online somewhere. If Kim can find the link to the smoke flavored gouda, that would be lovely. Pop that up there for John and everybody who wants to know about. It's a form of cheating, I suppose, without all the smoke getting in your eyes. Okay. Forvo Quizler says, "Hi Gavin, where's your favourite vacation spot in Australia and or elsewhere?" A bit of a random question there, but yeah, okay. We'll answer that one after this super chat, which comes from Suna, who's donated $10. Thank you very much, Suna. Appreciate it. Suna says, "Thanks for everything I do. I think my friends and family think I have gone bonkers, so I am now a craze to be cheesemakers." Excellent. Wow, what better way can you go bonkers by making cheese? Hey, at least they get something out of it. They'd be complaining if they didn't get anything at the end, would they? Yeah, you are giving your family and friends, the one that are saying you're bonkers, cheese. That'll shut them up straight away. All right, cool. All right, now, what was the question about? Where's my favourite vacation spot in Australia? Um, just small business owners like myself and Kim don't get many vacations. Any vacation we go to is a good one as far as we're concerned. Um, we kind of stick to Victoria. We were last year before Ben got sick. We were doing weekend getaways, quite local, nothing more than 2-3 hours drive. So going to places not like Airbnbs, better than that. So weekenders, that sort of thing, and they have fully functional kitchen and stuff. And I was actually getting some book written, so I'd actually allocate about 5 hours on one of the days to sit down and actually write the book. That kind of stopped after Ben was unwell with the blood disorder he had. So look, we've kind of made our home, our vacation. So we've got a swimming pool at the back. That was one of the original features when we bought it back in 2000. And we enjoy our area. We've got a lovely veggie garden. We've got chickens to play with on the weekends. We let them roam free and have a good laugh. And we've got some lovely sitting areas outside. We haven't got a small block as far as about 800 square metres. I don't know what that size is in acres and stuff. I think it's about a quarter-acre block. And it's fairly big. It's all fenced off. And, yeah, it's really good. We enjoy it. We spend our time outside and inside. All right. Hope that answers your question. You're probably thinking of things like the Gold Coast and Great Barrier Reef and Uluru and all that sort of cool stuff here in Australia, but we just don't get time to get out in there and do it. All right, Patrick says, "Hi Gavin, first time posting in here. Just want to know if you have ever made gorgonzola, as I know it's different from other blue cheeses." No, I haven't made gorgonzola. I'm looking for the mold to make it with, but somebody suggested last week on one of the live streams that I get some authentic Gorgonzola, the one stuff made in Italy, which we can get here, which is good, and extract the blue cheese, the blue mold, which is not Penicillium roqueforti. It's another one which slips my mind, and I think it's glaucum. I think that's how you pronounce it, Penicillium glaucum, something like that. And make it myself on some rye bread. So I can do that, and I'm going to get around to doing that. And yeah, anyway, thanks, Patrick, for your question. All right, we've got another super chat. This is from Matt. Thank you, Matt, for your $5 or $4.99 donation. Thanks for recommending Farmhouse Cheddar as it's a good first pressed cheese. Mine turned out great. Yeah, Matt, it really is. Very simple, stir curd cheddar, and it does have a great flavour and a great texture. Very similar to a decently aged cheddar without all the fuss, without actually having to do the cheddaring process and drying out the curds too much so your cheese is too crumbly. Stir curd cheddar does work very well. It's great cheese. Okay, Doru says, hi, Gavin from Toronto, Canada. Hello, Doru. Tao Kinth says, I found your videos 2 years ago and ended up binge watching them for a week. I've been making cheese on and off ever since and hope you know that you are an inspiration to me, not just to many. Thanks very much, Tao. Appreciate it. Yeah, a lot of people do find, and I find that they binge watch and all that sort of stuff, which is good these days. You can binge watch all the past content. Hopefully you found it getting better over time as I got better lighting and all that sort of stuff, and better quality. Anyway, Siraj gave me some lots of love hearts. And a gem. Oh, that's nice. And smiley faces. Love it. Aga, cheesy dreams, mate. Good night, mate. Sorry it's so late over there in Spain, I think you are. But yeah. Glad you could catch the show. John says, good option for excess cheese. Grind or blend it into small chunks and crumbles. Go to the local park and toss a meal to ducks, cheese, swans, and fish. Hopefully they're lactose tolerant. So, another one. I was actually talking to a customer the other day, and thanks, John, for the nudge in the right direction. And he asked, his name was George, he asked if he could reprocess cheese and add herbs and spices, then repress it. Now, it got me thinking to some of the cheeses I tried during the Cheese a Day challenge. And yeah, indeed, some of the cheeses like, I think it was Truckle Brothers Hot Chili Spicy one, certainly was reprocessed. And I found a little video up and put it in the taste test video. You certainly can reprocess cheese that you get either from the store or make yourself. And then after the fact, after it's mature, so you can grate it, and then, or crumble it or what have you, and then put it, mix it up, mill it with more salt if you need to, if you don't think it's salty enough, herbs and spices, chilies, what have you, horseradish even, and then repress it. Give it a bit of pressure so that it forms in the mold. You may have to use quite a bit of pressure because it'll be quite dry. But I think that would work. So that's another way to repurpose cheese if you don't think it's quite right, didn't have enough salt, what have you, want some more flavour, add in some herbs and spices, and I think it'll be fine. Anyway, moving right along, back to the questions before I get too far behind. Marianne says, I made halloumi and I couldn't get it to float. Do you know what might have gone wrong? I used fresh goat's milk and your recipe. Couldn't get it to float. I don't know. Some of mine took over 50 minutes to float, so I don't know how long you waited, Marianne. You didn't say. I don't know why it didn't float. I've made halloumi 3 times with different types of milk. Once with raw milk. I actually had the pleasure of getting some raw milk before they banned it here in Australia, and that worked perfectly. Stuff started floating from 10 minutes all the way up to 50 minutes. So it was a range of times before pieces floated, before they were cooked out. Then I made it with pasteurised and unhomogenised milk, and that worked, and they floated. It took longer to float. And then I used pasteurised homogenised, and that took ages. I'm talking about nearly an hour and a half before they started to float. So, don't know what as long as it cooked, if you could cook it and taste it, and when you tasted it and it worked, then it's success. Really, it just needs to heat up the core of the cheese during the cooking process. If it floats, well, that's a bonus. I think the fresher and better your milk is. And traditionally, halloumi is made from a mixture of goat and cow's milk these days. Using all goat's milk, I don't think that'll be an issue, but I know in Cyprus they mix either goat and cow or goat and sheep. So, not sure. As long as it tasted all right, that'll be great. Ross, I think it's Ross. Anyway, hi, I'm from Guatemala. Today I made 4 asaderos. I used 8 gallons, but only 1 pound at the end of each. At the end weight of each cheese. I love asadero. It's a very nice cheese. Well done. Cosman says crikey. Well, crikey. Yeah, that's Steve Irwin. Bless his soul. Yes. Kim. Sorry, I would have to say that I love Swiss-style cheese that Gavin makes and the American cheese. Kevin says, stop with the imperial units. Real people use the metric system. That's a bit racist against the imperial system. A lot of people, older people, still do use imperial. I know that many of Kim's friends in the UK still use the imperial system. So even though that's been metricated since, I don't know, 80s, I think. It took them to get them to do it. Anyway, Kim says, oh, and another reason to marry Gavin all over again would be the Cotswold with dried onions, divine, which I think I've got in the cheese cave somewhere. I've got one. Ruth was talking to John. Suna says, I once heard you say in one of your earlier videos that sometimes you need to add equal parts of calcium chloride and rennet. Why do you know why this is? The equal parts, or why do you add calcium chloride? We add calcium chloride to add back some of the soluble calcium that is destroyed during pasteurization process. It does also help a little bit with homogenization, but more so heat treatment of the milk destroys the calcium, and you need the calcium to help the casein, which is the structure of the milk, to form the mesh when you add rennet. So it helps it all bind together and makes a firmer curd. So it's about, the ratio is almost the same amount of calcium chloride as you add rennet. Alrighty, cool. Ross says, I made a mozzarella from buffalo milk, and the milk it's abundance for everything. I wish I could get my hands on some buffalo milk. I know that there's a cheese factory not far from me that has it. I'll have to investigate it, get off my bottom and go and do it. Okay. Rue says, ball of cream cheese in the burrata is a great idea. Yep, I think even homemade cream cheese would be even more fantastic, Ruth. Elias Dog says, I like to smoke cheese on a rainy night in my Weber kettle. It added an earthy flavour. I just partially covered the exhaust holes to prevent water drip on the cheese. Good idea. I'll have to see what I can do with mine. Mine's a big hooded barbecue, so I don't have a Weber barbecue, even though my last name's Weber. Go figure that out. But a good tip, Livestock. Yanni says, speaking of cheese videos, BuzzFeed came out with a cheese video like 3 days ago that was so pretentious it was unbearable. The guy was so manic it was like he was snorting cocaine. Oh, my goodness. Let's have a look, BuzzFeed. Have a look at that. I like to keep my videos low-key. I think it puts people off when you go crazy. There's no need to. You're teaching a age-old art, and you don't need to be crazy about it. Anyway, Ross says, where can I buy your book? I'm from Guatemala City. Kim put the link to the book there. Thank you, Kimmy. It is going to one of the books, my book. Nathan says, hello from Wisconsin. I enjoy watching your small-scale cheese making versus the large city-scale factory I work in. Excellent, Nathan. Hopefully I'm doing something right. Well, they seem to be. They taste all right. So, yeah, I can imagine that large-scale factory would be a different scale altogether. John says, we usually have carrageenan gum in our cheese for thickening the cream. Oh, okay. Which is not the same as gelatin. I don't know. I don't know if that'll work. I don't have it. Anyway, Ruth says, my can blue has lots of blue, but not so much white. Should I spray with geotrichum again or keep in the cave longer? I would spray with Penicillium candidum, Ruth, not geotrichum. Geotrichum just prepares the surface of the cheese for the white mold to grow better. So Penicillium candidum, I'd put something like 1/32 of a teaspoon into a little spray bottle, give it a good shake, leave it overnight so it rehydrates, and then spray it in the morning all over your little cheeses. So you don't want to make them moist, you don't want to wet them, just want to just spritz so that the mold will have a chance to grow. Ross says, where can I find a pH apparato? I think you mean a pH testing. I just use testing strips, personally. I think they're fine for the home cheesemaker. You can go all fancy and buy pH testing machine. Look on dairy equipment sites. They are very expensive. They're about $500 Australian anyway that I've found. But I find pH test strips work fine. And if you can find the pH test strip link from the shop and pop it up there for Ross, that would be fantastic. Bruce said, ran into a cheddar cheese here with mustard seeds and stout. Tasted quite good. I think that's great, Bruce. I think you would add that during the milling process. And similar to when I did my stout cheddar, that I just soaked the curds in the stout and then press them. I would do a similar thing with the mustard seeds. So after you've soaked it in the stout, let them drain a little bit, mill your salt in, mill your mustard seeds in, and then press. And fingers crossed, should work if you want to try that. Bobsy Lala says, hi, Gavin. Just wondering if you could try making a cheese out of this cold-pressed raw milk that's being advertised on the telly these days. Yeah, I might see if I can get them to sponsor me. How good would that be? I think it's called Milk by Cow. I think it's called that. It's cold pressed. Yeah, why not? I'll reach out to them and see what they can do for me because it's quite expensive. It's $4 a litre, which is quite prohibitive for the home cheesemaker. Anyway, Kim's popped the jalapeno cheddar link. Thank you, darling. Alice, the cream question made me wonder that if you have a recipe that calls for full cream and that isn't available, like here in Florida, can you doctor a whole milk and what would that be? Okay. Yeah, so no, just to save any confusion, full cream milk here in Australia is the same as whole milk in the US. So there's no need to doctor at all. As long as the fat content is over about 3.25%, then you should be fine. If you need to make any of the cheeses that call for higher fat content in cow's milk, then you just need to add some cream. And like I said, if you can get some pure cream, then that's great. That is just cream and not thickeners added and all that sort of stuff, then that's fantastic. And just add that to the milk and then bring the fat level up. Okay, cool. Anyway, but yeah, just to save any confusion, when I mention full cream milk, that's what it's called in Australia. The equivalent is whole milk in the US, as long as, like I said, as long as it's got a fat content 3.25 and above, and you should be right. Okay, got another. Oh, super chat. This is from Edward. Thank you, Edward. I appreciate your $10 super chat very much. Edward has got a question, a statement, I think, from Southeast USA. Thank you for the lessons and videos. I just made my first cheese by watching your videos. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much, Edward. I appreciate it, mate. I really do. Okay. Oh, and there's your gold star. There you go. Thank you very much. All righty. Jim says, g'day, Kim and Gavin. It's great to be here for the weekly meeting of the Curd Nerds. Here to learn at the feet of our Curd King and his bride. Thanks, mate. You're funny. Remember, it's the bi-weekly meeting. Remember, we do Saturday shows as well. Alan says, what do you think about some guy trying to sell manly soap on your videos? It seems like conflicting competition. Do you have any control over the pre-video ads viewers see? None whatsoever. I have no control of the ads that people see on my videos. Hopefully Google have kind of matched them to something similar, like food topics maybe. But when I watch, my own videos, quality control, of course. Kim calls me vain, but I want to see if I can improve, of course. All I get are car videos. So, I don't know, maybe that's just the locale. Anyway, no control over the ads whatsoever, Alan. It's whatever the YouTube gods serve up. Alice says, sorry, what be the proportions? Sorry and thanks to the cream. Sorry, no, that's all right. I've answered that question. Just said it's the same. Matt says, hey, Gavin, when will be the next video you will be posting? It'll be this weekend. So I post the making videos on weekends. Fingers crossed, it'll be vegan cream cheese. Hence the vegan kit in the background there. Wink, wink. It turned out very nice. It was more like a nut spread, but I don't know. Vegans can call things anything they want, I assume, but it's not a cream cheese. It's a nut spread, and it was very, very nice. And it was made with cashews, and Kim and I both liked it. I've just got to do the taste test bit of the video. I've had the cheese and the spread in the fridge for about a week. Hopefully it's okay still. I don't see why it wouldn't be. I don't think nuts go off, do they? But yeah, we'll see how that goes. So that's the next video. After that, I'm going to be making some cheese this weekend. See what I can get my hands on, milk-wise. Not sure what the cheese will be. It's a bit of a mystery to me as well. I was going through some cheese books yesterday and never found a recipe that I kind of liked, but we'll see how that goes. Okay, Mabrook, I think that's how you say it. What's better, rennet tablets or liquid rennet? Well, it depends. Rennet tablets have a better shelf life than liquid rennet, if that's your concern. As far as taste-wise goes, there's no real difference. I do find that some people report, and I've never used animal rennet, some people report when they use animal rennet they get a bitter taste, but that goes away with aging. I tend to use microbial rennet, which is vegetarian, it's a vegetarian-based rennet, made from a fungus, and it works very, very well. Anyway, Kevin says, if you have a hot smoker, it has a chimney, so you can add a pipe to your chimney box and redirect it to a box on the side, and then put the cheese in that box, so there's only heat, no heat, only smoke. That's a good idea. John says, Patricia, have you wiped down the hard cheese with olive oil instead of keeping the cheesecloth moist? That might be difficult during the first pressing, John, I think maybe what Patricia was talking about. Michael said, made mozzarella for the first time. I got started way too late and had to go to bed. I had no pH strips. The next morning, the curd never stretched. How can you tell if the curd has gone too acidic? Really, you can't without the pH strips. One of the indications is the curd crumbles when you try to stretch it. It means it's too acidic. So that's all I can tell you, Michael, unfortunately, without any indication of what the pH should have been, between 5.3 and 5. Closer to 5, the better. You start going over 4.9, though, and then, it just crumbles and doesn't stretch properly. Matt say, I've got some book feedback. This is great. Matt says, I say, do the troubleshooting and the recipes. Steve says, and g'day, Steve, recipes and troubleshooting. Kim says, yes, recipes with a good troubleshooting section. Kevin says, please only do the recipes with troubleshooting, as most of the other stuff is available online. Mark says, I'm with Kim, troubleshooting goo. Nice. Ruth, take another year. Writing a book takes time. I'd like a chapter on affinage and one on pH. I'm getting the recipes from the videos because it forces me to get them. Thanks for your feedback, Ruth. Appreciate it. Chris, what would be handy is a book information about what to expect at certain stages of cheese and how to pack and store different styles of cheese and for how long. This is gold. Fabulous. Thanks, Chris. Frank says Kim's put up the hickory smoke flavored Gouda for people who don't have a cold smoker, so that works. Frank says, what is the best cheese to make for a first time cheese maker? Kim, can you pop up the link to the beginner's cheese list without a fridge for Frank, and he'll be informed on the best cheeses to make with all the links. Ruth says she's totally bonkers as well. I think you mean, yeah, in relation to Suna's super chat. Great. Brian, maybe a silly question, but all cheeses have very similar make. What makes them each have their own distinct flavour characteristics? My goodness, I could write a book on that. Yes, they all start off with milk, rennet, and starter cultures and salt. Time is usually the difference. The time that you allow the milk to ripen before you add the rennet, the amount of time you allow it to rennet, the amount of time you stir the cheese for, the amount of time, the size of the curd that you cut, the amount of time that you press it for, the amount of time that you age the cheese for, and the various cultures and molds that you add to the cheese for ripening and flavour. So time is probably the number one thing. Okay. Vern says, how easy to cut back the recipes for the cheese? Cut back the recipes. I don't quite understand what you mean there, Vern. But I do have most of the recipes written, if that's what you mean. David says, good morning, Gav. Do you sell the thermostat required to turn a normal bar fridge into a cheese cave? I'm fresh out of the Australian version of the thermostat. I get them from China. I don't have any at the moment, but we did sell them. You can pick them up on eBay. There is a video somewhere showing what what it looks like. I think if you go to, I think it's My Cheese Fridge or something, there's a video on that. If Kim could find the link, that'd be great. If you can't, honey, it's no big deal. But you can pick them up on Amazon, eBay, that sort of stuff. Just an external thermostat for a fridge. Patricia says, I have some lipase to use. I've made manchego, yum, and do not want to make mozzarella. Any suggestions for other lipasey cheeses to make? Definitely. So, cow's milk Romano. So, Romano Vacino, I think it's pronounced. Add lipase to that, definitely. Parmesan, if you're going to make your own style of Parmesan, then definitely add lipase to that. Trying to think another cheese to add lipase to. Oaxaca, when I made that stretchy cheese, that turned out very well, which was in the shape of a ball, like a string ball. That was really cool. Any kind of pasta filata cheeses, definitely add lipase. It just brings out a little bit more flavour in them, if you're using cow's milk, that is. I hope that helps. Suna says, just wanted to say, I also love the podcast. Great to listen to when cooking. Thanks. Thanks, Suna. They're on a bit of a hiatus at the moment. Until I really do have to organise myself, get more time. I keep saying that, but you never can get more time. You've just got to structure your time correctly. So yeah, the podcasts are kind of taking a backseat to the videos, because I think the video is a better medium to communicate more information. Unfortunately, you can't watch videos when you're driving, so that's one of the downfalls, or cooking, unfortunately. Bruce says, I would love a volume of recipes with a section on troubleshooting, maybe some recipes on what you can do with cheese after it's made. I think, thanks for your input, Bruce. I think the last part of what you mentioned, some recipes and what you can do with cheese after it's made, every man and their dog's done that in their cheese-making books, and I kind of want to steer away from that. If you really want to go and find cheese-making recipes, go to taste.com. That's what they're for. I couldn't do it justice because most of the cheeses that I make, we eat on cheese platters. So we don't cook with them very often. So I'm not the best person to do that. Bruce also says, I know I eat a bunch of it's just fine as cheese, but it's always nice to have new ideas. No, it's a good point. The Red Pill said, if you produced more raw milk cheese, how much money would you charge for it in per kilogram in Australia? I would work out your costs, your unit cost, as you would with any normal product that you make. It's Small Business 101, how to work out the unit cost of your product. I could not do that for you. I do not know your costs, unfortunately. Sorry, the Red Pill. John says, Ruth, I'm in East Bay, Fremont, maybe. Red Pill says, is dry salting a cheese more efficient as brining for salting a single cheese? Depends on the cheese. Dry salting can be a bit hit and miss sometimes. Brining, the salt penetrates the cheese easier because it's floating in the medium. Dry salting, if you miss a bit and don't wait long enough for the salt to be absorbed, then there's a chance that you undersalt the cheese. There's also a chance you undersalt the cheese with brining because you don't leave it in there long enough to be fully saturated. Okay, Steuben says, have you ever thought of making a Franken cheese with multiple cheeses using the same method you use to make American cheese? Well, kind of that's what I did already. Put two cheeses together and made the American cheese. I've used different types each time. So that's kind of a Franken cheese. I think you mean a layered cheese, maybe? Don't know. That would work easy enough if I had a big enough mold. I could do a layer at the bottom, different colours. That would be fancy. It's just like soap making, really. Yeah, very good. Kim says, I didn't know you had a Cotswold in the cheese cave. I'm pretty sure I do somewhere. Or something like a Cotswold. The Red Pill, my girlfriend called Catsul after the Shire in the UK, like the cheese Cotswold. Righto. Is called. Oh, okay. Right. Very good. Yeah. Where are we? What time is it? Oh, there's only a couple of minutes left. My goodness. Would you make a cranberry or blueberry Wensleydale? Already done that. Kim's put the link up. Thanks, honey. Put the link to the test pill. Kim, tell Gavin, answer my question. What's my question? There's so many questions. Steve says, what kind of cheese would you recommend for Halloween? Any kind of scary cheese? Not sure, Steve. John says, Kim goes to the cheese cave. Very nice. I've run out of time, ladies and gentlemen. Kim's giving me the wind up. So the thing is over, unfortunately. So thank you very much for watching the stream. I could have gone for about another hour longer, and there were so many more questions. Don't forget that if you want your questions answered straight away, then just do a super chat, and I'll get to them straight away, as you've seen during the stream, if you have burning questions. So that's the best way to get my attention, not to go ask him to tell me to answer the question, because I'm behind about 15 minutes. There are so many questions. If you have a burning question, do a super chat. That's all I can say. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Without you being here week on week, there would be no show. So thank you very much for turning up, Curd Nerds. And don't forget to visit the store if you're in the market for some cheese-making kits, equipment, supplies. Got lots of supplies. I keep renewing them all the time so we don't run out, which is fantastic. So go to littlegreenworkshops.com.au. And you can support us over at YouTube memberships. There's a join button below, or via Patreon. That keeps the stream going. You can also buy some merch. I've got some cool merch on. Look at me. Keep calm and make cheese. Suck the belly in. There we go. So cool merch. That's over at Teespring, and the link's there. And you probably see the merch shelf down below, and you can get those as well. Well, thanks for watching, Curd Nerds. We will see you next week. We will be. We're going to show on Saturday. What is Super Chats? The little dollar sign under the smiley face in the chat box. That's Super Chat. Yeah, we'll see you on Saturday morning. We will be here. So that is a wrap. Thank you very much for watching Curd Nerds, and I'll see you on Saturday morning.